Good afternoon on what is a cool, grey and overcast day. It is Saturday the 28th of January. I've got a nice hot cup of tea and a box to delve into. So the first thing I am going to pull out is this, which is the Princess Bride Roleplaying Game. This is the special edition, I know, and as because it's Princess Bride, inconceivable. This is the role-playing adaptation of the 1980s film shot by Carl Reiner, based on the book by William Goldman. Really highly, basically held in high regard. That is appreciated by a lot of gamers and fantasy fans because it's a lot of fun. There's a strong sense of humour running through, and irony. But it packs in a lot of action in there as well. Yeah, it's quite a beloved film. So this, let's have a look, was published by Toy Vault. Publisher kind of best known more for its action figures, its plush toys and the like, rather than its role-playing games. I'm trying to think of another role-playing game that it's published, and I can't think of one offhand. I'm sure it might be the only one. It's done some board games and so on, but it's including more for the Princess Bride game. More based upon the Princess Bride film. But this, I think, is the only role-playing game it's done. Anyway, so this is the special edition. Let's have a look inside. So. And this was quite difficult to get a hold of. In the end, I literally had to get it in from the United States because it quickly, if it got over here, it very quickly disappeared. And we open up. This is designed by Stefan Sullivan. Designed, probably best known for writing Fudge, which is the precursor to Fate. And this is powered by Fudge, I believe. And it says, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie The Princess Bride, you should definitely do so before reading this book. But since we discuss much of what happens in the movie as examples of play, reading this book before watching the movie may reduce your enjoyment of the movie. So do yourself a favour, watch the movie first, you'll love it, it's a unique classic. No other movie accomplishes quite what this one does. So it's got a spoiler alert, then it's got some questions about the game. I quite like that. It's sort of like, the Princess Bride role-playing game. Really? A, yes, and yes. Who's it intended for? Primarily fans of the Princess Bride movie, but anyone really, except maybe Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, morons. Okay. What's a role-playing game? I'll tell you in a minute. First, let's drink. Me from a glass, and me from my glass, you from yours. Question: do I need to know how to play a role-playing game? No, it's all explained here, and it's easier than you think. Probably even more fun than you imagined. What if I don't know the movie? See spoiler alert above. This is an excellent question because that's important. Thank you for asking it. So on. So yeah, it does. I think it's sort of like and it's done like kind of that tone from the movie, sort of like some sense of tongue-in-cheek, sense of irony. Look, really honestly, and then it goes to chapter 1. What is this book? The Grandson. A book, Grandpa. When I was your age, television was called books. So we've got an explanation of what it is, and it's nicely drawing upon the film and its script, and explaining what it is. And then based off that kind of explanation, we get into here's a sample role-playing encounter. So very quickly, explanation of what the game is, but let's show me what I've told you what the game is. Now I'm going to show you what the game is like. And we have a role-playing encounter. That's nicely done, so that's clearly go through that, give it the details, give some flavour from the film to get some idea of what it's like. And this is essentially drawing from the film. The characters it uses, essentially you've got Fezzik there, and so on, going through. Then we get to the basic rules of the Princess Bride role-playing game. Starting off with the 5-minute version. So the two most important things that I said essentially is successful game is equals to everyone having fun, and how the basic skill check works. So there are a couple of pages detailing the game before we get into the basics of it. Before we get into a bit more detailed explanation. Even though we have basically encapsulates what's going on here. So, for example, this is the action resolution in a nutshell, or at least half a page. And then we literally have a mechanic here called, Grandpa Wait, the grandson. I'm telling you, you're messing up the story. You now get it right. So, on the character sheet, you might notice Grandpa Wait points. I rushed right by those, sorry, but I want to talk about skill checks first. The course that in the movie, the grandpa father reads the book to his grandson, and there's one point where the boy interrupts, Grandpa, wait, what did Fezzik mean? He's dead. I mean, he didn't mean dead. Above, I just wrote, let's let the dice fall where they may. The game goes on. But it turns out I didn't mean that exactly as sounds, because the players are also playing the grandson in this version of the movie, and the GM is also playing the grandfather. So, so essentially, if the dice just killed your character, there will be possibly a moment of silence at the table. At that point, any player can say, Grandpa, wait, and push a token towards the GM. So essentially, you've got some kind of interruption in the flow of the story, but emulate, so essentially bringing that character back from the dead. But just like the film, it's emulating The Princess Bride. But nonetheless, it does with things like, life isn't fair, and advancement and issues like that. And then we have the Man in Black. What a player! Essentially, what a player needs to know. The Man in Black. I am no one to be trifled with. That is all you ever need to know. So here we have, here are the points for the player, which are always great. These are good points. Don't be a jerk. Share the spotlight. Don't argue with the GM. Don't resort to unnecessary violence, and so on. Before we get into things like meaning of character traits, how to short-circuit this adventure or not, and of course, it does have one final piece of advice. I'll just show you that, because you kind of know what it's going to be. There we go. And then, this is after all this, we get on to player characters and what they what they like. So we've got several different player characters all pre-prepared, so you can just grab one of these and start playing. So what we've got here is a role-playing game of, swashbuckling, daring do, desperate situations, dealing with situations where death is on the line, and we have how to tweak those characters, how to personalise them for the benefits of your players, how to make them yours. And we have professions like brute, fencer, miracle worker, pirate, wandering farmhand, agent, and essentially these are steps on how to create particular characters that model those seen on screen in the film. So that's taking you through step by step. We have things like fencing styles and gifts and inconveniences, problems for the character to face. More player characters and beyond. So we've got more expansions opening up the world. So more professions there, such as burglar, courier, forester. Highway robber, or highwayman, or highway woman if you prefer, peddler. So that's essentially in the middle here. We have actually got a map, which I'll just pull out and show you. There we go. Okay, definitely like a good map. Okay. So that's the Kingdom of Florin. What it looks like, and in the insert in the corner there we have a map of Florin Castle. You know, in case the player characters need to decide they need to assault it in order to rescue a would-be bride. And then we've got rules in here for creating your own character, creating your own professions, equipment, money, and dealing with things like types of weapons. Combat, there will be blood tonight. So this is kind of, I mean, basically the Princess Bride Roleplaying Game is going to be one of those where the players are going to just be quoting from the movie, so on, lots and lots, and we've got combat example there, working your way through it. And then there was a mighty duel, so we have more detailed combat rules, and these are really for that point where, you know, you have the two characters fencing at the beginning, Wesley and the Mandy Patinkin character, which is a really great piece of swordsmanship all the way throughout. Let's see what else we've got in here. Flipping forward, and we're dealing with things like mass combat, play character versus player character combat if it comes to it, optional combat rules, chatty duelists, you know, so we've got the Man in Black versus Inigo Montoya, you know, that's the scene we all remember as the dueling scene. And here's the thing, I absolutely adore this. So this is an example, and it's explained as an example of play. You know, that's quite lengthy, quite detailed. I think that's a really nice breakdown. And then we get on to, it will take a miracle, so we've got the subject of the supernatural. How to work a miracle into the game. And of course, running into Miracle Max and his wife. And then love, true love. This is romance. So player character love doing it the safe way. Player characters wooing other player characters. How to handle that safely. And because it's not a subject that everyone is comfortable with. And then, attention, dear reader, if you want to be a player rather than a GM, you should stop reading this book now. Continuing may lessen your enjoyment of the book. Big warning. And then, so you want to be a GM. And here we're kind of stepping out. We've got the grandpa with the grandson there, stepping back a bit. So, you know, things, you know, preparing for a session, setting a tone. We've got an example here of sort of like, so I'll just back over the page. So, quick adventure outline. You know, the game master has prepared as an example. Conversation between players and GM, because ultimately the role-playing game is a conversation between players and the game master. Examining the rules in more detail. So doing things, you know, you've got to have heart, it's important. Dealing with terror, willpower and courage, speed and racing, how many dice rolls, you know, can you have too many? People to meet, places to visit, animals to avoid. You know, as in Humperdinck, unless I am wrong, and I am never wrong, they're headed dead into the fire swamp. So handling things like languages, stereotypes, and cliche descriptions. Dealing with particular locations. So here we have the Kingdom of Florin and a more explanation of it, building upon that map. So Thieves' Forest, Pit of Despair, Zoo of Death, Cliffs of Insanity, the Fire Swamp, and other interesting places. And then, essentially we have actually sort of like, in examination sort of like countries where this could be set, or or countries in relation to the set Kingdom of Florin. So putting this in context of the period when it is vaguely set, whether that's Turkey, Spain, you are looking sort of like early modern period, so on, the Renaissance period, and then we have some non-player characters. And then characters in the movie, we have essentially their stats and details there. And then 4 sheets, so here we go. So you could take this and play those characters, but I imagine everyone's going to be wanting to play either Inigo Montoya or the Man in Black, or Dread Pirate Roberts, or Wesley, as he's otherwise known. And we do have rodents of unusual size. Okay. And then we have another warning. And we've got adventures. So we've got 5 adventures in here. And adventure seeds. So you've got quite a lot in here, but the adventure seeds have got to be fleshed out, whereas the adventures themselves are all ready to play. And then dealing with, we've got an appendix, so on. We have discussion of Fudge dice, Princess Bride book and online resource, pre-generated circus characters, so on. These are unillustrated, but they're ready to go. Skill definitions. For those. Then we have gifts and inconveniences. So think of those as advantages and disadvantages. Yeah, and that brings the to an end. We've got a map of the Kingdom of Gilda as well, and all the list of backers and so on for the Kickstarter. So yeah, that is the Princess Bride role-playing game, published by Toy Vault. It's going to be an interesting game to examine. I think essentially it's a game you're going to dip into and play, get a lot out of if you really like the Princess Bride, which you should. Anyway, Princess Bride role-playing game, published by Toy Vault. And of course, first off, I want to thank Keith for enabling me to be able to get a copy, because this had to be imported, and he was a big help with that. And then if you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. In the meantime, thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.